That's cool.
Hello, everybody, one and all, to what can only be described as the most outrageous and competitive season that RCI has to offer. I'm Jesse Lee with RCI TV, and we are proud to be back to present RCI Night Owl Season 3, qualifying just underway here. And I am joined by a very special guest tonight, commentating his first ever race here, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan Mawson.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is around where you are watching. And yes, first time commentating for RCI. Hopefully it's looking like a pretty good stack of field, quite a few names that I know, quite a few heavy hitting cars at Suzuka. Looking like a gorgeous day for qualifying as well, not too hot, not too cold.
Well, it is the very first round of a new season. Very important to start your season off on the right foot. And a 10-minute qualifying session, that is going to be constant throughout the season. But as these guys and potentially gals alike get on their sighting lap for the very first time, I think we should talk about some things that are different about this season. Everybody remembers season 2, where the field was inverted based on points, which caused an incredible amount of, well, different points leaders and moving up and down the field. And at the end of the championship, it came down to the very last race and the final few laps before we knew who was going to win that championship. That is not so here in Season 3. Season 3 has a brand new hook. All these teams and drivers have selected a car without knowing what the tracks are going to be, Ryan.
Yeah, Obviously, you've got to start. You want a good bop over the whole season, but obviously, if you pick the Mercedes, if that is what you're really good at, you're going to be grinning like a Cheshire cat at this race for the heavy hitting Mercedes. And we've got multiple others. You got the Porsches, the Ferraris could be quite a good pick. It's quite sort of consistent over a season. And the BMW, I think, could be one to watch in the silver category. It's a very, very heavy hitting car at Suzuka. If you can get it to hook up, it seems to be quite slidey. But if you can rein those twin turbo beasts in, you'll be rocking and rolling.
Well, indeed. And of course, some things that are the standard for RCI. The weather is random, could be rain, could be dry. And as you pointed out, Ryan, it is dry. It is cloudy, though. Track temperatures are pretty darn good, if not ever so slightly high for where they would want for the ultimate, the quickest speedy boy laps. But that doesn't look like that's going to play too much a factor, nor will the wind here in season three. My favorite series, the Night Out Championship, a little later in the evening for the European and the Asian crowd, a little later in the afternoon and evening for me as well here in the United States. But no complaints, as we're going to have some fantastic racing. The other difference for this season, as you may have noticed, there are white and silver number placards here. That is because we have combined pro and high silver classes for for the entire season, basically. So there are two different races, two different championships going on at the same time, right?
Yeah, but obviously, you show racing drivers any sort of position. It doesn't matter if that guy's got a pro board in front of him or if you're a silver driver. If you think you're faster than the driver ahead of you, of course, you're going to go for him. Um, and it will entirely depend car, how comfortable you're in it, your track. You can see some silvers that are incredibly fast as we start getting the first times over the line. 58.7 for the Harry Spears, quite a good provisional pole time straight out of the bat, and that's before you start to get into the magic zone of the tires. It seems to be about 2 to 3 laps. They obviously like to warm up, as the silver field also looks quite close, and that's a very good mix of cars right there. You've got 4, 5 different manufacturers already.
Well, that's not a bad lap, though, by Harry Spears in the 2.85, setting the pace at a 58.785. Not bad at all. But Berke Yilmaz, this guy right here, who's going to go way off the track there in the Degners, gets it all sorted. That will be an abandoned lap, but did not bend the car. That would have been very costly had he been the car right there, because again, it's only a 10-minute session. He does not do that, and he gets to, well, I think he'll get probably about two more out of it, perhaps.
The current pace, I would say. So yeah, about 2 laps. It's not quite a fully super pole, but yeah, you can't be throwing many of your laps away that you get. You only get a finite number, especially if you want to be in the nice optimum zone of the tires. And it's very easy, I find, to invalidate it at Suzuka. You've got turn one, the Degners, Spoon Corner, 130R, final chicane. Sometimes I've seen drivers have a bit of a wobble at. There's plenty of places you can invalidate your lap here.
Yeah, it is. This is Suzuka. I don't know if we actually mentioned that we were in Japan yet, but this is the world famous Suzuka circuit. Lovely track. I think a lot of people like this. I like this track for one particular reason. It is, technically speaking, the only F1 FIA graded track that is, technically speaking, a figure of eight.
Yeah, you have the crossover obviously, and um, what's it? We have oh, wait.
Qualifying continues, and Harry Spears still the leading driver on the road. Nobody even coming close to challenging him right now, quite frankly. Giaro is the only one that has gotten anywhere close, and he is over a second behind. I don't expect that to continue, as sometimes it takes your second or even third lap to compete. And there we have it, the 199 Mercedes goes second, just 4 tenths back. But even still, I don't think they're done getting. I think that time's beatable too. That 58.7.
No, you have about two more laps still to go. The other thing that I kind of expected, but as you said, the drivers did not even know the track lineup. Being Suzuka, obviously the home Japan, the home of the Japanese cars, we have no Hondas in the field. No Hondas. We have
Hmm.
one. Is it one Lexus? And I think I saw a GTR earlier.
Well, one of the nice people in our chat, by the way, chat, hello. We'll be talking to you throughout the race as we always do here on Night Owl. And Phantom Blue brings up the fact that so used to seeing F1 times around here that it's almost shocking that they're nearly 2 minute laps. I agree. I was actually, believe it or not, racing here this morning. And that was the same thing. I was like, I definitely feel like a lap is quicker around here. And it is in a modern Formula One car. In a GT car, it is still around a 2 minute lap, but it feels just as fast to me in an F1 car versus one of these cars because of the sheer amount of driving you have to do in a lap. It's a tired comparison, but it's almost like a Japanese Nurburgring in a way where you're just out there for so long, and there's so many things that can go wrong, so many different corners. We'll get into that when the race starts. You have the S's and the Dunlop curve, the Degners, was it so 130R, etc., and so forth. Such a very iconic track and a lovely one at that. Still no change up top. Spears leads the 199, leads Yarrow in the 355. Now, that is a silver car in third place. These guys are allowed here at RCI to race each other, even if they're not in the same class. But the 199 there getting really close to taking over the pole, nearly enough to get there, but just under a tenth off of the ultimate pace. 40 seconds to go. Time to bite the bit a little bit and get that lap in.
And the other thing that he's got to remember as well, he coming up to lap traffic, and that could be, it can be a blessing and a curse. If you're far enough back that you think you can draft them, that might just be that under a tenth. You're coming down the line, that might just be it. But obviously, if you catch up to a track, it is your problem. They have right of the car in front will have the right to their lap, so you cannot ruin anyone else's. But it appears that he is not caught up to the Porsche yet. He's using the AMG power out of the hairpin as the Porsche is going to pull over. So now he's got the draft of the Audi, another quite wide, quite low car.
That car did give him a bit of a breather, didn't it? To sort of let him go, did the Porsche. So that's good. But will the Audi in front do that, or will it even matter? That was very nearly going off the track there.
That was
But this is
very.
the other, yeah, this is the other side of it, though, Ryan, too, because you can, if you want to, get a draft down this straightaway. But I'm not sure that they achieved quite that here. But that is something that it's a great passing corner when it comes off, though usually, and I think you'll see that a bit here tonight, it doesn't come off.
A bit deep into the final corner, but we'll see. He's still got the slight draft of the Audi. I would say he's just about in. He's
Oh,
abandoning
he's
lap.
given up.
So
Well,
it looks
Harry
like
Spears
Harry Spears
did
has.
he reset his quick lap. 58.587 was his quickest.
almost
Can
un,
the
almost unbeaten.
40 get anything extra? No, he cannot. Actually, yes, he can. He actually goes up to fifth with that lap.
Incredibly tightly packed field. Everything from second through to 14th is almost covered by a second.
Yes,
That's
indeed. Qualifying ending, the final few cars coming across the line. Of course, Jordan, one of the final cars to get their lap in here, 13th currently. Can they improve? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like they are going to. And that is the end of qualifying for race number one. And Ryan, we talked about it a little bit before, but we'll go back to it again. These drivers and teams, I say teams, but they're basically just drivers, they picked their car knowing what round one was here at Suzuka. Past tonight, they do not know what tracks they're going to. So Ryan, I'm going to put you in their shoes. How do you pick a car not knowing what tracks you're going to?
How would I pick a car not knowing? Yeah, it is a very, very tricky one. I think a lot of it comes down to your driving style. So, for example, someone like Harry Spears, I wouldn't expect to see him in anything other than his very classic Mercedes. Amazing driver in that car. He knows that car inside out. So in that car, he is very consistent over a whole season. Um, but a lot of the other quite good, quite safe options, for example, the Aston Martin, it's a very easy car to drive, very safe, very consistent over a season. Bentley, once again, it's the Bentleys, apart from maybe Silverstone, it doesn't really have any tracks that it excels at, but it's amazing over all tracks. It's also quite good in various conditions, wet, because that's the other thing we have to consider. This race is dry as of right now, but all the other rounds it could be raining for all we know. You don't want a car that's just going to spit you off at turn two. Um, Lexuses and Audis, if you're a good mid-engine driver, I would say they're also a very safe choice. The Lamborghini, um, that's quite a good mid-engine car, I find. But yes, all the obviously it's easy to go with a open your you want to open your season with a good finish, a good start to your season, and then hope that you've picked the car that suits you over the rest of the season. I would be quite worried if, for example, I was in a Mercedes here. You have a good race, and then you take it to Hungaroring, which is a track that I historically cannot drive the AMG at.
Yes, indeed. I mean, me personally, I would probably, if I'm honest, I would probably take the Mercedes as the safe bet is what I would do. And obviously, we have two Mercedes that will lead the field to green. And of course, we know here, as well as any other GT series that we do, starting up front doesn't mean you're going to finish up front. We've certainly seen that over the past few weeks unfold to not be true. But as far as not knowing the tracks, I feel like you have to play it a bit more safely. And what is more safe in ACC right now than picking a Mercedes? I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, the slight thing that the Mercedes will have, and it once again it entirely depends on the track and how long the races are. The Mercedes sometimes can be an amazing qualifying car, but its behavior changes on full fuel. Obviously, there are some cars that are blisteringly quick but do not make a good race pace car. Equally, there are some cars that don't really gain anything from taking all the fuel out of them. Yet in the race pace, they're very consistent. They're the type of car you maybe don't want on your rear view, because you'll pull away from them a couple of laps and then they'll be right back there. You'll pull away again, they'll be right back there. And you know that if you make one slip up, they'll be by. And then they will slowly drive away into the distance. That's like your Aston Martins, for example. I find they're very consistent. Um, but yes, the Mercedes, it's hard to beat the power of that 6.2 liter V8 down a straight. It's very, very difficult. If you can't get around him in the twisties, then you can just wave goodbye on the straights.
We were talking pre-show today about the V8 and how, well, you know how we say it here, there's no replacement for displacement. So sometimes that is true. Sometimes you don't want that big engine, but there is another little bit of madness sprinkled into Night Owl as per usual. It is the only returning thing from last season. It's the fact that there is a pit stop that is required in this hour. Could you run an hour without pitting? Almost certainly everyone could, but you're not allowed to do that. There is a pit window in this race, and you must come in and add
30
fuel. You
seconds.
do not need to take tires, but you are required to take fuel during that pit stop, and you can come in at any point during that pit window. You'll notice that everybody has an amber number one. I've actually been recently told that that's orange, and I think that I don't know if they're messing with me or maybe my eyes are a bit broken, but either way, I call it amber because it looks amber to me. That amber number one denotes that there is one mandatory pit stop that all the drivers must take. There are two races going on at the same time, the race for pro and high silver, as we've dubbed it here. And boy, it is good to be back. And I think I'm going to take my last breath of the off season before we kick it off, just as they get ready to go out on their sighting lap.
Yep, everyone wanted to warm the tires up, warm the brakes up. Obviously, we've got quite a nice day today at Suzuka for the race. We've still got 24°C track temperature. Looks to be nice and clear. A little bit of cloud cover, so we're not expecting the death of the left side tires through turn one and the S's. But um, as you says, you must come in for the pit. You were going on about can you run an hour? Well, with that, yes, you must take fuel, but I do not think in RCI it specifies how much fuel you must take. Meaning, if you have a car with a large endurance tank, maybe the BM, quite good on fuel, you could possibly run a lot longer than others and either have a stop and drop or while you're in the traffic, while the field is bunched up, you don't need to you don't need to be maximum attack, maximum pace because there's someone in front of you. If you then make your last 20 minutes a mad dash to the line, you could slingshot people. That's a good element of strategy for that. The Mercedes, as I find, they are big, thirsty 6.2 liter V8s. I find the Mercedes the best strategy for those is foot to the floor, go like hell, and brim it when you come back in, and expect an expensive repair bill from the or expensive fuel bill from the pump, especially if it's like the fuel prices here in England. I won't want to be filling up Mercedes with how many miles per gallon it does, or gallons per mile, we should say.
Oh dear. Well, one thing is for sure, Night Owl has produced some of the more interesting and drama filled racing in RCI's history. And after its break at the end of 2020, brand new in 2021, all the RCI rules do apply here. No live stewarding for this event, though. Everything will be handled by post race stewarding, of course. And well, if you're a bit naughty and you've run afoul of the rules too many times, well, unfortunately, the garage door the next time you come around, you will find it locked. So they still have to mind their manners here. 28 plus cars in the top split for Night Owl Season 3. Opening round here at Suzuka as we near the end of the pace lap. And nearly everybody in this field looking to do the same thing, have the best possible start. And that's easier said than done. This is not an easy first sequence of turns around here.
No, especially with everyone that close in qualifying, it's not exactly like you're going to find something magical over the person in front. Everybody is over a lap very close, but each car will have its own strength and weakness. Obviously, if you're behind a Porsche, they may be not as good in the straight lines, but they are going to be seriously late on the brakes versus maybe what you could do. As we go two by two for the first time of this season.
Heart rate, heart rate will be up. Hearts will be racing. Pressure, focus, everything you will expect from the pro and the high silver drivers as they come through the triangle for the last time under pace speed. They line up two by two as far as the eye can see. 28 plus cars in the race today, two different classes, the promise of a new season, and a green flag getting ready to drop for Harry Spears and the 199, leading them off a long wait. They do not use the Formula One start and finish line here. They use the GT one that they are about to overrun. The lights go out, they turn green, and immediately the drivers fan out two and three wide. bidding to get the top spot. Harry Spears is going to get out front as they enter the S's from turn one. A clean start from the front of the field, 2 by 2, sometimes 3 in the back. No major incidents to report, Ryan. I think we're clear.
Yep. Oh, as you say that, we have a Aston Martin doing a bit of rally
Shouldn't have
crossing.
said that.
Bit of cursed it. But he appears to have rejoined. He's all fine. We have a small breakaway pack there, it seems, of the first four, followed by the McLaren of McKean. Obviously, everyone just wants to get their tyres up to pressure, get everything, get in the groove, and then start maybe thinking about the person in front. How are you going to pass him? As I say that, the Audi also
Oh
happens to have
boy.
an excursion. Ew. Now, which line would you want to be coming up to this hairpin? I know I would want to be on the inside. Can the
Yeah,
Audi hold it?
definitely so. Oh, good going there. He is going to run a bit wide, but I don't think that's going to hurt him.
Nope, the Ferrari has got the drive out of the corner immediately. You'd be a bit sad, wouldn't you, if you were that Audi driver?
Well, just the one real fender bender to talk about as everybody else gets away fairly cleanly. Routine start to a race, which if you've been with us for the last few weeks, well, that is an accomplishment in itself. Some of the top drivers have been a bit scrappy in the opening laps of races. Not so here today. Most everybody, if not everyone, minding their own P's and Q's to start this race, and they are away, nearly already completing the first lap. Harry Spears has a second lead over the 199 Mercedes already. The fight back in the field, as pointed out in a chat earlier, nearly everybody from third on back was within a second, and that's going to be, especially at a track like Suzuka, that's going to be really hard to get away from people.
Yes, especially going through the S's. Obviously, you will be in the dirty air off the car in front, which just makes it just that little bit harder, that little bit easier to run off the track. Obviously, you don't, this early in the race, you don't want to be getting any track limits. Any sort of clattering curbs would ruin the pressures in your tyres. Just none of that you want this early in a race.
Absolutely so. And now we see the 427. He's
Looking up
trying
the
to,
inside.
he's definitely, I think now he's going to have to go more defensive of Litherland behind him, looking to try and get the run. That big bad Bentley, as I refer to them always, looking a bit more planted than the Ferrari in front of him for 16.
Yeah, it's almost when you're in this position, you've got to really watch it. Oh, has the Ferrari's gone off? Yep.
Oh, Sizak going off the track, doesn't hit anything in the Degners. He's going to be able to rejoin here. He's going to get away with it, but he's going to drop from 16th down to 19th, Ryan.
Well, the race isn't over though. You still got 56 minutes left. Plenty of things can happen. Sometimes it's just a bit of a. Sometimes you need that wake-up call. If you have a bit of an off, you go right. Okay, pick ourselves back up, and we'll continue rocking and rolling. But yeah, we need to get the tires up to temperature before you start making moves. If anything, sometimes it's quite difficult when you're in the middle. You want to attack the person in front, but you've got to also be watching your mirror behind. You leave your door up and you'll be. As the 24 is off in the wall.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
I saw this after the hairpin, and I saw the yellow flag, the local yellow, in this section, and that's exactly what it was. Well caught by Nick Setnick. We didn't. Oh, no! More calamity there as the rejoin leads into another Ferrari, I believe. Major contact there by the two of them, and Tuncer's going to have some massive damage, and even if he does come in after that, he's still going to have to pit again. What do you do?
it's such a nasty corner to spin at. You're entirely blind most times, especially if you're following someone in front of you. Obviously, if they move left, you've then got a car stopped in the middle of the track. It's where do you go? You've got to pick a side and hope that you've picked the right side.
Being told in chat that that was Moriarty, Ryan, in the opening lap that caused that local Gallo, the one car that we saw off. We're told that that was Moriarty. He dropped all the way down to about 25th or so. He's up to 21st right now, is the Porsche driver in the number 2. But well spotted by Lotus in chat right there. You're absolutely right. They dropped right down the order, and they were the only car that had a massive change like that. So Well spotted. Time to get Lotus in the booth, I think. Excellent eagle eyes indeed. As Emilio Garcia here, he's going to sell him a dummy and go up the inside. Excellent job and pass completed. The 23 of Sones cannot do anything as he goes wide in the hairpin position to Garcia.
That's a classic cutback maneuver. Obviously, it's not quite over yet. The Audi did look like he had quite the run, but the Aston does suffer a little bit with turbo lag. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything coming out of Spoon Corner. A little bit of a shake, maybe.
We didn't actually officially introduce Ryan Mawson, who's my counterpart. I'm Jesse Lee here in the booth with you. Nick Setnick on the cameras tonight here on RCI TV. Opening round of 9 Owl Season 3. And Ryan, we didn't really talk too much about it, but I would consider you, of the two of us, I would consider you the ACC specialist. I've spent, obviously quite a bit of time with ACC, but you have been competing at a high level in this sim for a while, for quite a while, I should say. So, again, as per usual, I will defer to you for any technical aspects of the game of the sim, and it's fantastic and it's very interesting to hear. I see things and I assume, oh, well, that's because this car is a bit crap here or they got to run. But to actually hear the science of, oh, yeah, well, this car has turbo lag, this car suffers from grip, this car suffers from degradation, that's incredible and very valuable information, especially for me, who I only drive about 3 cars. So there's no way I would really know that. But up front, Harry Spears has a friend, and it's a friend that did not tell him he was coming over for dinner.
Now he's brought that gap right down again. But possibly possibly Anno would have been just working his tires in. It's very easy at Suzuka, especially in the opening rounds through the S's. You don't have maybe the optimum tire temperature yet, the pressures. They're very easy to grain them, and obviously if you grain them, you just start hurting your pace. Sometimes it don't make the car any worse to drive. You will just start to drop lap time. Um, so a couple of drivers may just work them in a little bit easier and then push. I have a feeling that's what Anna's done. He's now sort of picked up the pace and he's telling Harry Spears, "Hey, I've not left you."
Speaking of left, they have positively left the field. There's only 2 cars in your picture because this is the pack behind them, and they are quite a ways behind. It is the Mercedes show up front, and I promise you, you're not watching an F1 race. This is indeed GT3 at Suzuka, but there are 2 Mercedes up front that have absolutely blistered the field. Nearly 6 seconds back is Yilmaz in 3rd place, and he's uncomfortable because he has Guerrero behind him and McKean and Akar and Renoir, all of them behind him. It's just a procession, and this is the same thing I feel like I talked about at Bathurst yesterday, Ryan. If you get side by side around here racing somebody with the times being as close as they are here, you yourself are likely going to also get past or present the opportunity to be passed because the times are so close, and you'd be slowing yourself down, could be as much as a second trying to make one move.
Yeah, exactly. You never. That's the worst part about being in the middle. Exactly like this Porsche driver of Moradi. He wants to get in front of the Lamborghini. The Porsche is amazing in the corners, but you have to maximize that. It's very hard if you cannot maximize that to then pass, say, a Lamborghini on the straights. But if he goes for a move, he's got to also remember that Lithand in the Bentley behind may just say, "Well, the door is open now. That is mine." You've lost then another place. You have to regain all your work.
Well, Moriarty, who was documented by Lotus in chat that he was the one that had the opening lap drama, well, he has regained his composure. He's back inside the top 20, up to 18. That's Magazi in front of him and Sizek in front of him. And remember, Sizek was one of the first people that we saw, the 427 Ferrari, that had to bail out in the Degners. So these guys coming back through the field, it's going to be interesting to see how far Sizek and Moriarty can get through the field. Sizek doesn't really have anybody in front of him right now. Laval is in front of him about 2 seconds in front, but Moriarty is threatening to get by the Lamborghini of Magazi right now.
as we have the pit window opening now. Quite a long pit window. Once again, that can entirely play into your strategy. For if you're behind someone, say like if you know that you are faster than someone, maybe the undercut is the best solution. Go in, get fresh tires, try make it so that you come out of they come out of the pits behind you. You then do not have to deal with that battle anymore. But then on the flip side of that, that means that you're longer on the tires. As Moriarty does exactly that, dives into the pits, going for a
Smart
long
move.
stop, followed by the 39 of Anderson. Quite a few people actually pitting means you're going to have to go for a long time on those tires. Suzuka's quite a tire hungry track. The if you think with the turn one, the S's, and the surface is quite coarse there. It really does like to chew tires if you're not careful.
I don't hate that move, Ryan, and I'll tell you why. Because if you wiggle from
Whoa!
up in front, and I think that's Yilmaz in indeed. Yilmaz again, more trouble in the Degners, and again, no contact made. Now we've seen two or three Ferraris do that now, Ryan. Is this a Ferrari issue, perhaps, with the balance of the car going through there?
I think that could be a bit of a mid-engined problem. The mid-engines are quite prone if you clatter curbs. You know, it upsets the balance of the car. They want to go. They were basically how I always got it described by a good friend of mine. A mid-engined car, you let it drive itself. You let it go on the track where it wants to go. A front-engine car, you tell it where you want it to go. And a lot of the cars, so the Mercedes is a monumental curb munching machine. You just point it at curbs and they're not there. But obviously, the Ferraris seem to be suffering with that large curb onto Degner 1.
Jordan Sons here getting his mirrors full of some Kumpo right
Oh,
now. Oh, he's gonna lose it. He's gonna lose it in the. Oh no! Big hit into the wall there. That's severe damage. I would assume, well, not severe, but significant damage is what I was going to say, Ryan. I expect him to come down pit road now. I think he has forced his own hand.
exactly what I just said. The got a little bit on the curb at 130R, that first left, and that just sent that car going. As you are entirely out of control. Having driven the Audi in your World Tour, I'm in the Invitational split for that. The Audi is very much a car that if you hit a curb wrong, you are now a passenger that will drive where it wants to go, not where you want it to go.
Well, Ryan, I gotta say, if I had you as a crew chief on one of my sim teams, I'd probably win more often than I do. I'd say that's a very fair assumption. A little bit of that too, for me, is mirror driving. He knew that he had somebody. He had Kumpo all in his rearview mirror, and I know Kumpo pretty well in that 25. He's not a guy to back down, so I think mirror driving a little bit, maybe missed his mark, got on the curb, and like you said, that car is not going to respond very well. Speaking of not responding very well, we saw Yilmaz a lap ago go off in the Degners, and now all of a sudden McKean behind him looking like he is the quicker of the two. Yilmaz not really going defensive, not quite close enough is the triple three McLaren, but even still, the intention seems to be there, just the way that that McLaren is cutting in. Meanwhile, up front, we have two Mercedes. Neither one of them has a Hamilton in it, but it is rather irrelevant. They are the class of the field by a long margin, nearly 10 seconds now, and they're still going at it. Looks like the 199 at this point content to just ride along and see if Spears makes a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. The other point to be made is we don't know fuel loads or anything of these drivers. Harry Spears could be trying to do it to where he's got say 15 minutes left on the last race. If you can keep the driver behind and force them into their strategy of pitting at either the midpoint or pitting early to try undercut you. If you then come out like a blazing bullet out of the pits for the last 15 minutes in essentially quali pace, and you can do those your quali pace lap after lap, then that will also be very hard to fight back at. Say if you've been longer on your tires, they're worn out maybe, and you've got fresh tires and no fuel, it's going to be very hard for Anna to get back up to Spears.
I like that. I like that wording there. I like that imagery. A blazing bullet. And definitely these two are that. And also going back to the pit stops, I don't hate it if you've had issues early in this race. I don't hate the early pit stop makes sense as Jordan Sones is coming into pit road. Some more cars. Tuncer coming in. Tuncer had issues early as well. I don't hate their early pit stop. I think it's a very, very strong play. If you have a car that you know can gain a ton of positions and you don't really want to fight somebody, why not come in, get some clean air, run in your own space, and then on the other end when they come in, you pick up those spots. And of course, like you said, you do run the risk of wearing out your tires at Suzuka. It's a very abrasive racetrack, isn't it? Not really a favorite of mine to race on for that. I love watching races here, but it's one of those tracks that will wear out your tires over time. As McKean thinking about making this pass on Yilmaz, he's going to go around the inside. This move often doesn't come off. Can he get it done? Is he going to give him room? Yes, he is. Yilmaz going extremely wide. Position maintained for Yilmaz in the number 5, but a dummy move and down up the inside into the triangle. Yilmaz successfully defending again, perhaps contact with the triple three, and he's going to try it again down the inside again. Preferred line to McKean now.
That's a drag race down the start. McLaren versus Ferrari. The Ferrari is no slouch in a straight line, but it does appear that McLaren does have enough of an overlap. There you go. Up turn 1. Can the Ferrari hang it round the outside? He's definitely going to give it a go, because then you've got the right-hander for the next corner. But no, he's backing out of that. Maybe for the best. Just settle blood down, go through the S's, and then power past him again.
Excellent sequence of corners. That started 6 corners before the pass was completed. That's pretty much what we expect here in the top split of Night Owl. That took him 6 corners to get that move to come off, and he was side by side with Yilmaz for 5 of those 6 corners. Emilio Garcia back in the 7th place, hunting down Aker here for 6th. And of course, Yilmaz there still pictured. It does not get any better for the number 5 Ferrari as they head into the hairpin. He still has to defend because there's 2 cars behind him still.
Yeah, neither of those cars are not that I would be happy seeing in the rearview mirror. The BMW, obviously quite wide, quite a chunk, but it is a absolute straight line speed machine. The twin turbo V8 from that down the front stretches. The BMW runs a little bit wide. Have to be careful there, getting a track limits. But yeah, the BMW is really hard to, especially if you get passed by him, they're very hard to get by. Obviously, Suzuka, there's not much places in the corners to get by. But if you don't have the top speed versus the car in front, what can you do? You just have to draft them and hope they make a mistake.
Well, that was a very good observation you made right there, too, because we haven't talked about it, but it is very apparent. And one of my worst tracks is Suzuka, simply because of the track limits warnings. And the reason for that is typical ACC rules do apply. If you get 3 track limit warnings, you will get a penalty.
Yeah, so Suzuka follows like what the real GTs are policed by. So anything more than 2 wheels on the curb, or 2 wheels off the curb, should I say, then you will receive a track limits warning. You can also get them through Degna 1, Degna 2. If you clatter the curb and run the whole car, it looks like you've got a nice escape road on the left with a quite wide AstroTurf, but that is a track limits because your whole car is off the racetrack. It's very easy to do that 3 times in a race, especially if you're wanting to just push that little bit extra to get away from the person behind you. Maybe just be a little bit more confident. It might gain you a couple of tenths, but it can all come crashing down very quickly.
Emilio Garcia's confident. He's confident he can get by Aker here, but can't quite do it. Defensive line for the 32 white BMW. Stops him in his tracks, but every time through there, he gets closer and closer, does Emilio Garcia. Can he pull off the move? Now falling back. Of course, that BMW, a beast in a straight line, will leave him ever so slightly, but you see the Aston Martin in the corners gets right back up tight to him. It's all about getting the run and getting the move. Doesn't look like it's going to happen here either, as this group has sort of panned out. And for relief for the number 5 Ferrari of Yilmaz, at least he's gotten away a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be seeing that in the rearview mirror. You want the people behind you to fight. It just gives you just a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of something. Oh,
Oh
we have a
no!
Porsche off
What
middle
happened
of the
here?
S's.
Oh, so yeah, we did not catch what happened here, but some major calamity has befallen the 935 Porsche. That is one of the most damaged race cars I have ever seen in ACC. Not a single panel on that thing is straight, and he is going to elect to tow that to pit road as he is well off the circuit there in the S's. Actually, no, that's not in the. Is that in the S's? That is
That's
indeed
yeah,
at the
that
top of
is
the S's.
that's the top of the S's coming out of Dunlop. I don't think that you'll get your deposit back on that one. It's not very factory fresh anymore.
Well, that'll be going back to Stuttgart, and they will. They'll have to put that on the machine to make sure that frame is still straight. That thing is very damaged. He's actually still sitting there. Is the 935? He's causing a yellow flag in the S's. Nothing wrong with that, of course. He's trying to weigh his options. Of course, that steering very askew, as we could very clearly see that even from the camera that we had.
Yeah, exactly. There's a new joiner to the battle down low as well. With the Yilmaz Ferrari has been replaced by McKean. It seems that the BMW and the Aston Martin of Garcia are slowly catching them as well. So that could be a new battle brewing. That's
Good to be back racing again in the Night Owl Season 3 here on RCI TV. A battle for the lead still brewing. Nothing between the two of them. In fact, there they are. The update here, of course, is that they will start to get into lap traffic, Ryan, and that could play a major factor and has historically here at Night Owl played a huge factor in who has the upper hand. We believe the 199 in this case is just
yes,
hanging back and biding his time, but certainly if opportunity arose, he would take it, I would assume.
yeah. It's a lot easier being the following car, especially if you're coming into lab traffic. It's sometimes easier to read the situation in front of you. Um, but obviously, if a lot of drivers in front, they get the blue flags, they know the procedure, and it is the lapping cars problem to get by. If you can do it safely and quickly, then you lose nothing. But yes, we've seen it plenty of times in racing where play positions and races have been decided by who managed the traffic better.
I've always enjoyed knowing how to get around lap traffic. It's one of those things that you learn it by doing, and I always felt that those that run up front, they get more practice than the rest. But even still, there are those that know how to time a run, and for me, it's always been about backing up a corner to make sure you catch them in an advantageous spot for you. And it's much like racing; it's an art form into itself, and the 199 will be looking for that to see if Spears gets held up a little bit. Sizek up to 12th now in the 427. He was off in the Degners early, but has rebounded quite nicely. He is the caboose on this train, and look who it is. Ryan Mawson in the 769 right in front of that Lamborghini.
Yes, our part of our community is Sebastian Brunier. So he's been in quite a few communities that I've been in. Recently, seems to have been quite a master in the McLaren. He's picked up quite a lot of pace in that recently. He's definitely definitely being able to hustle that all the way as Sizik tries maybe having a setup on Gill. Oh, we have Anna back into the pits, and Spears is still going, so possibly trying to have a bit of an undercut on Harry. And this is what I was mentioning. I think that Harry Spears might now be trying to go on a long mission, so he ends up at the end with an absolute quali pace car. A bit wide out of Degner 2 as well. It's another track limits area. You don't want to be doing that if you can help it.
You certainly don't. Strategy being played out. The 199 in the pits was running second, right literally on the tail of the leader, Harry Spears, but now has come into pit road. That could be a race winning move for the 199. We'll have to find out in 34 minutes' time. You've still got 24 and a half minutes to complete your pit stop. You will not be allowed to do that at the end of the race. It has to be in the middle 40 minutes. And there you saw it on the screen. Magazi in the 34 Lamborghini has given himself a stop go 30 penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Just as earlier we were mentioning that you have to be aware of that kind of thing, Ryan, because the stewards are not going to give you an in race penalty because we don't have them for the series, but ACC still will.
You've got to be paying attention to the lines, especially if the pit. You cannot always rely on the pit board. Never base your marker on something that can be removed. If someone happens to lightly tap it, that's that gone. You need to know where your pit lines are, and it's sometimes quite confusing. Coming out of the pits, there are two. I've seen people knock the pit limiter off far too early, realize, and then that is it. You've got to drive through or stop go 30.
Indeed. Josh McKean into pit road, and we're being told that we think that something happened to the triple three McLaren because he dropped behind Yilmaz again, or Yilmaz. I'm not entirely sure how he would like his name pronounced. I've always just pronounced it the way it's spelled, but it may well be Yilmaz. And if it is, I do very much apologize. I am a simple Yankee Doodle, and sometimes names are a bit tough for us lot. But either way, the triple three was behind the five again, I'm being told, which it should have been the other way around. And we did not catch exactly what happened, and it did not show up on my screen either, folks at home. So definitely something there, but not sure. Definitely something with Sean Moriarty, too, attempting to get around Magazi. Again, Magazi has a stop go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. That was not a track limits penalty, of course. That was just a a pit speeding violation. You got to hit that limiter at the exact right moment and release at the right moment. Otherwise, the ACC speed cops will give you a fine. And in fact, Magazi comes down pit road to serve that penalty, and that will drop him well down the order because that's not a pass through, Ryan. That is a stop and go 30. That is a brutal penalty.
Yeah, it's not exactly what you want to be. It doesn't help any of your race, does it? We still see Harry Spears just in an absolute class of his own. Just very happy lapping. Looking on the track map, this is what you want to see. You've got no traffic in front of you for quite a while. You'll keep an eye on the right side in case anyone's coming out of the pits, but would appear not. So it appears that his strategy is very much at the moment playing off. Very, very clear racetrack. Good pace. The last lap is a 2-minute point 7, so he's still into the 2-minute lap times on race pace.
Carlos Guiaro in pit road in the 355. He'll bring his third place machine in for some service. Of course, the 34 cleared his stop go. That's how long it took him from the last time that we talked about him to now for the 34 to clear that penalty. That is an absolute age. And if I'm not very much mistaken, that has completely dropped him off the top 23 board that ACC provides us. So you can imagine just how far back he is outside the top 23. Unless my spectacles are broken. I don't think they are. Meanwhile, very interesting development. The 199 is not the leader on the road of the cars that have pitted. I've just noticed that belongs to Renault, I think. Renault, I think, is the leader on the road. Actually, probably not. They were coming out of pit road. Sometimes the timing doesn't update as frequently as we would like it to.
Now, at the minute, it's looking like the 355 might be the leader on the track. So it's, yes,
that's what I'm wondering.
Slightly interesting, that one.
It is. You're right, Ryan.
Because neither Mercedes looked like they had damage, and the pace that both Mercedes were showing, you wouldn't assume they had damage. So yeah, something happened that I didn't have it on my screen either.
So I was right, though, Renault is the leader on the road of the cars that have pitted. The
Ah, yes.
732 Lamborghini is in eighth place. He pitted very early in the race as the 199 trying to make the move here in the hairpin. I don't know about that. That is not the safest move. He's going to try and go up the inside. Can he get it to stick? Of course, this will be in favor of Guerrero here. And in fact is, and they go single file, but not giving up is the 199 trying to make the move here. Can he get it done going into Spoon? Late break, very brave maneuver, won't do it and falls back in line. But they're all chasing that 732. Gotta wonder though, you brought it up early, that what are the tires going to be like in another 25 minutes when it matters most?
Yes, and as I says earlier, these are at the end of the day racing drivers. It doesn't matter if you're a silver class and you've got a pro behind you, or you're a silver chasing after a pro. You're entirely entitled to it. As Anna does pass in 130R, quite a scary move to pull off, but it appears to have both worked for them.
Well, that is what I would normally assume would be for second place, but Renault is there in what will, I assume, be second place, unless Renault has pulled off the heist of the century in that Lamborghini and has somehow made a 12-second gap evaporate. But either way, of the cars that have pitted, and the 23 has gone off in a very big way here. What happens here exactly, I wonder?
It could be another case of a bit of a mid-engine tangle. Oh, yep.
Oh, what?
You take the curb on the right. That will once you're airborne. Obviously, you do not have control anymore of that car. It's quite a large curb. It's more vicious than you think. That curb on the right. When you're coming up to it, obviously it's race pace. You think, yeah, I can take that. And about 3 milliseconds before you realize, maybe this wasn't such a fantastic idea.
Well, we haven't talked about Brian Knappen at all today. He's been in the middle of a fight, though. I can assure you of that in his number 40 Aston Martin. He's trying to get in front of Gill. That's not Ryan Gill, mind you, but that is a Gill in a Lamborghini. So surely they are friends. But Knappen attempting to, speaking of familiar names in familiar places, take a look at the number 26 of Hillman behind there. That's our beloved broadcaster Stewie, if I'm not very much mistaken, in that battle as well, for about 18th place.
Yes, it looks like it. Once again, maybe just going to sit back and wait until maybe Knappen has a move on Gill, or if you feel like you've got the pace to go it. The Aston Martin, as I said earlier, it's a very very stable car around here. You could really push it over the curbs, as Garcia's trying to do exactly that up to the back of Yilmaz. You can see that the Aston Martin is quite settled to maybe the slightly more twitchy Ferrari, but bearing in mind we've had almost 40 minutes of this race gone. It's quite a long way on those tires.
Seeing Stoffmel here inside the top 10. He stands to gain more positions. Ryan brought up at the beginning of the race, there's only one Lexi in this race, and it is him, and he's parked it inside the top 10. He's looking for more, looking to get around Guiaro here for what I assume to be third or fourth place. But oh dearie me, the 23 now has been given a stop and go penalty. So their day has gone from bad to worse, went from spinning out in the hairpin to having a very long stop and go penalty to start off the season. And also in the chaos, we missed Harry Spears' pit stop. He's back to fourth place.
Yep.
Emilio Garcia into pit road.
Yep. And so that just leaves Sebastian Brunier, Yilmaz, and Akar, the last of the late pitters, as we say.
Most of the drivers here electing to go for a pit stop in the middle of the race, cutting the race in half, Ryan.
Yes, but as I had slightly anticipated, Harry Spears. Obviously, you've only got 24 minutes of this race left. You can now have fresh tires, a lot less fuel, and you can just go quali pace almost, not full quali, but it will just extend the gap that you've got as the Bentleys go side by side down
I'm
to
not sure
130R.
this is
Who
not a
is
two Bentley
going to
wide
back
turn,
out?
right?
The last time I checked, it's not. Ooh, but they do give each
That's
other
very
space.
impressive.
But can the Ferrari capitalize on that? No, we cannot. There's the Ferrari of Kumpu is thinking about it, probably looking, thinking, let's just let these guys have their own race, and I will hopefully follow one of them through.
Gonzabo here still not willing to sit behind Litherland here. He wants this position. He's going to have the correct line into turn one, but just not close enough to Litherland to make the move, and he'll have to settle back down into the 14th position. But one thing's for sure, I knew that Ferrari was not getting by that Bentley in the triangle because, well, that the triangle is only one Bentley wide, so there's absolutely no way that was going to happen. But impressive driving from Litherland and Gonzalo as well to go side by side in that corner. I wouldn't do it, but they did do it, and there's no wonder why they are in the top split tonight.
Exactly, especially when most of Suzuka is only one Bentley wide if we're using it as a measuring device.
Oh dear. Well, just a few cars left to pit. Everybody else has pitted, as Ryan Mawson here theorized they would do, as Knappen gets a little bit sideways, but gets the pass anyway on Gill. Position gained Knappen up to the 18th place. I quite like what Gill has done to that Lamborghini, though. It reminds me of sort of a Diablo, doesn't it? An SVT with that paint job.
Yeah, so kind of, if anything, for me, it reminds me of the when Orange used to be racing in Formula One. You had the orange and black cars as the actual
Oh yes.
the telephone company Orange. As this battle
Yes,
still
indeed.
has not calmed down, still the Ferrari of Kumpu wanting to
They've
get
not
past.
settled anything, Ryan, yet. They
Well,
haven't
that is
settled anything.
very true. It's got all of this train look very, very, very similar pace. No one is giving up just yet.
Well, a little over halfway into the race. We hope that you are enjoying today's RCI TV broadcast of the Night Owl Season 3 opener, and we'll invite everyone watching out there to like and subscribe for more GT racing content. I'm Jesse Lee. I'm here with Ryan Mawson. I got Nick Setnick over there on the cameras bringing you the replays and all of the action today. Glad to be with you on a Saturday evening. Hope you're well wherever you are. And of course, would like to thank all of our partners here at RCI that make this race and every other race possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. Couldn't do it without you guys. And, well, I'm just happy we've got 20 minutes of a good race left. And pretty much Night Owl standard here, Ryan. Nothing settled yet.
No, exactly. Nothing is over until that checkered flag waves, especially at Suzuka. It seems that no one has really, apart from the two maybe Mercedeses, no one has really ran away from their cup. It's all still mixed up as we still have three people left to pit: Akar, Brunier, and Yilmaz. As it says, the different strategies this could work out for them. They've obviously filled the car up a lot more than anyone else on the field to go this far, which can work when you're all bunched up in traffic and then you sort of gain it back at the end. But obviously, until you come out of that pit and you let go of the limiter, you never know.
Hey, remember these guys? They are still having this disagreement about space. And all of a sudden, Kopu thinking about making a move, doesn't quite do it, has to dip back in line, thinks better of it. Meanwhile, Sisek behind them on the march back towards the front of the field, continuing that, trying to get 14th, potentially even 13th place. And I think I understand what the leaders out front are attempting to do. I think they just want to be on TV a little bit in this race is I think what they want. I think they'll pit after they get it. There we go. Nick Setnick has picked up Burka Yilmaz here in the number 5, the leader of the race. I got you, Burke. I got your back. Leading the race at this time, still has to pit in the number 5 Ferrari. Very blue that Ferrari,
But
but leading out there anyway.
if you look in the background, though, can we see the impending shark of Harry Spears? He's only 4.2 seconds behind with a pit stop as he dives into the
I was
pits.
right. That's exactly what he wanted. And the second he got on TV, he said, "That's all I wanted. I'm getting my pit stop taken care of." And that is going to promote Harry Spears back into the lead of this race. We didn't see it, but the 199 has gotten around the 232 of Renault. And now, order at least restored in that respect. The 199 up to second place, though a very, very long distance back now. So one could imagine that their pit stop, the 199s that is, was considerably slower of that of Harry Spears's Mercedes. But I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
interested about Guerrero in the 355. He also had a slow pit stop apparently because it's knocked him off the podium.
yeah, it would appear so. It's very strange. It says we saw a couple of incidents, but nothing really, no really huge, door to door bashing. It's as it says, maybe that is part of their strategy. Obviously, if you pit early, it might be that you have a longer pit. Maybe you could picked up a tiny bit of damage from having slight bumps at the start, or just anything like that can cause a longer pit stop. Or heaven forbid, you miss the ignition button, you fumble with that, anything like that. Or ACC, the other thing that is quite vicious for in pit stops, if you are not positioned exactly, it will shuffle your car to get it into the box. It's a little bit glitchy sometimes. I've had it where it's shuffled me, picked me up, dropped the car again, and then picked me up again. So then you've lost, oof, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, who knows?
Well, Nick Setnick has learned he has a brand new superpower and he's trying it out right here at Suzuka. He realized he can make a car pit simply by showing them on the camera if they are leading. I think that only works, Nick, whenever they are leading. When they're in second place, like Attica and Akar is, I don't think it works quite as well. But we'll try it this time. You're picturing the car, and I'm going to say Attica and Akar is doing a great job. He's in second place, still needs to pit. So now we'll see when they come back around, Ryan, if he does hit or not. Josh McKean in the triple three, he's had an up and down day. He's been in it. It's unfortunate he shouldn't be this far back. He was up in the top 5, but now back outside the top 10, looking to get back in it. That's Lima in front of him.
Yes, if I remember, I saw the triple three battling with Yilmaz at the start of the race, but as you pointed out, at some point in the time Yilmaz had got past, we didn't see that pass, and then that was it. The McLaren never seemed to regain the pace that it had, which was quite strange. Unless, once again, very easy to grain your tires, very easy to go off track, get some pressure losses. All of that, especially on such a high downforce car as the McLaren, it's not going to help the handling. It's not going to help your confidence in the car to push as hard as you need to get maybe a 201 or a 2 minute. And in this field that's so close, from all the way down from like P3 to what was it? I think P18 were covered almost by a second. It's, yeah, you can't let your guard down for 1 second here.
I mean, that's a fair bit of analysis. You can. We're spoiled here at RCI with that sort of thing where everybody seems to bring their A game. They all have something to prove. Obviously, if you didn't have something to prove, you'd play something else. I don't know, badminton or something. You wouldn't be a race car driver. So all of these drivers, teams, and personnel have something to prove, and they're out here trying to get every little bit out of the lap they can. And then it's no surprise to me, because again, here at RCI, we're spoiled that at the end of a qualifying session, we have more than half the field covered by a second, half a second. And I'll be if it doesn't work. So, Nick, we have hit on what makes this happen. You show them on camera, and I say that they're doing a great job and they haven't pitted, and then they come in to pit. Now, we should not have that power, but unfortunately, we do. Great power has great responsibility, I think, is what I'm going to go with there. Emilio Garcia in the 46, hunting down Yumaz here for the fourth position. Both these cars already inside the top five. As that car comes out of pit road just behind this group. Sean Snuffle, or Stoffmel, excuse me. I lost my mind there for a second. In the 144 gets by. That's Seb Brunier. Actually, it isn't Seb Brunier. Seb Brunier is 10 seconds behind, in fact.
No, I believe that's the 355.
It is indeed.
The Bentley up ahead as well. Now that that Stoffmeal is hunting down. Was that not the same Bentley that was in the earlier scuffle with the two Ferraris, I believe? In fact, no, he is not actually. If you look, Garcia is the next car up ahead. So something's happened to the Paul Bentley, which will be sad for me because I'm a bit of a Bentley fan with that car, but we'll always root for anyone who picks a good boat.
Absolutely. Emilio Garcia continues his battle with Yilmaz in front. He'll be wanting that fourth place spot. Two very different cars, these, the Ferrari and the Aston Martin.
Been quite a charge for the Aston Martin as well, and it's been steadily picking people off. And now that the fields, it's even harder when the field starts spreading out, obviously, because you've got to first catch the person you want to pass and then pass them. It's kind of easier when everyone's up in their grill. Oh, as Harry Spears is having a little bit of troubles in the S's, but gets it back.
To say he could have a few moments and it wouldn't matter is a slight understatement. Something happened on that pit stop for the 199. I don't know if maybe they had some sort of issue getting into the box. We didn't see it, but something on that stop was very amiss for the 199 because they came in. Well, when the 199 came in, they were bumper to bumper. So to lose 20 seconds and then lose more time having to climb back up to the second place position, something drastic happened on that pit stop. And usually, Ryan, what we see in Night Owl, because of the fueling, they accidentally take tires, which they don't have to do. They can elect to do, but you don't have to. And I don't know, but based on history, I would assume that's exactly what happened with 199. They took tires whether they wanted them or not.
Yeah, it would not surprise me, and that would be around about that gap. Obviously, fueling will be maybe a 10-15 second stop, and then the length of the pit and tires will add another 20 seconds to that. So it's not entirely out of the equation that will, but that once again, it track dependent. Really depends on what your strategy is, what your setup is like, and how comfortable you are in the car. If you know that you can do an hour on a set of tires at Suzuka, then you can do an hour on a set of tires at Suzuka and be my guest. But I know that I would definitely be taking tires. It's not a circuit that I would want to gamble hoping that the tires will hold out that long. That could have possibly be why we saw Harry earlier having a little bit of a moment through the S's where you need that grip. As Garcia's still attacking Yilmaz, who really wants it, is absolutely pushing it to the limit through 130R.
Well, I have now officially been told by Nick Setnick and Harry Conway, who's in the chat here, that they confirmed that the 199 stop was exactly 30 seconds slower, and that seems to tell me that that was a tire change on the 199. Again, whether they meant to or not, we know that nobody around them did that Renault, who is now in third place by 3 seconds over Yilmaz, and Garcia, who are currently battling, as we see Paulo Lima here trying to get the ninth place position from Seb Brunier, who's worked his way into the top 10. Well done to him. But the gap is coming down, it must be said, for the lead. 199 now only 26 seconds back. They were 27.8 seconds back a lap ago. Not enough to matter, but those new tires, like you said, Ryan, are doing them good at least. It's just it might be a bridge too far, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think it's one stretch too far. As much as you can be quicker pace now, but if you've got so much of a gap, you've got to hope that the people around you also do a similar strategy. And like you said, you also lose time fighting back through the field if no one else does that. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes. As the 77 Ferrari is going to drive through as well, I'm going to guess that's one of the first track limits.
Right, you are, as they're going to be side by side here as Knappen trying to outmuscle the other Aston and does indeed get by the 39 of Anderson. Position for Brian Knappen up to 16th place, and there is more in front of them. Kanzabo is the next person on the list for Knappen in the 40. And meanwhile, in the background, you see a fight going on. Of course, David Gill trying to make the pass now.
Yeah, so David Gill, he's seen the passes. Maybe that's the best time sometimes to go for a driver if you know they've been a little bit unsettled by a pass. You go, right, well, we'll put the foot to the floor and capitalize on that. But it doesn't appear that through Spoon, it appears that the Aston Martin has had the better drive. It'd be easier to hold on to it.
What's with the two guys in the pits? The chat ask. A little hashtag ask the box action here as Josh King gets really acquainted with the back of that Mercedes. Of course, he's in a McLaren. He's never seen the back of a Mercedes like that before, so he's very interested to see how the diffuser on that number 18 works. I think he got a good look that time, and I think he'll go back to pit lane and draw a diagram. Actually, he's going to go ahead and touch the back of it. You can't touch the butt. That's not okay. That requires consent. I'm not sure Lima gave McKean consent to do that, but either way, a bit of a touch for the 333, and it has come undone for this team today, it must be said. They were inside the top 5, but now have fallen outside the top 10, but this will put them back in the top 10. It will be some consolation to them, I would imagine, if they could pull off this. Easy to strike and get into the points battle from the top 10. Elsewhere, not so much. This is, of course, the first round of Night Out Season 3. Stoffmel here up into the 4th place. Now, how did he get 4th if he was 6th in the previous sector? Now, that's very interesting to me. Stoffmel from PCDC Motorsport, of course. Longtime supporters of RCI. Longtime supporters of the Lexus, too, maybe. But somehow... Oh, I see what's happened. Yilmaz has gone off. Yilmaz has gone off at some point on the track, and he has dropped from 4th place all the way down to 7th, Ryan.
Yeah, and it would appear, if I'm not mistaken, the left side of that Ferrari, there is a little bit of scraping. So, yeah, it's possibly an off track, or it's an unseen accident that we've seen, a bit of touching. But as he says, it's all positions and all gains for the Lexus is sometimes the best way if you can keep your nose clean and you let everyone else fall off the road for you.
Well, Berka Yilmaz drives for I Miss the Apex Racing, and I suspect that had a little something to do with why he is now 7th. Oh, do we have a replay here?
We have a replay.
Nick Setnick may have found it out. Oh, no.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. The 46, he's the one that missed the apex, and another touch for good measure. And that's going to be Emilio Garcia. Just missed the breaking point in the hairpin, Ryan.
Yeah, that is so easy to do if you unsettle the car. Once the rear end starts rotating around, you are a bit of a passenger by then. But he hasn't let him deter him though, as he's right back on the bumper of Stoffmeal, as he might be going. Yep, it's trying to try a cutback. But the Lexus with the drive out the corner, the Aston, that hairpin is probably the worst sector for the Aston Martin. Is this turbo lag on that car really struggles out of the hairpin. You've got to be on the power so early, and sometimes that is not possible with a car in front of you. As he's going to try maybe get a better run out of Spoon Corner, have a bit of a drag race down 130R, but once again the Lexus just has the legs. The NA V8 of that Lexus is another quite heavy hitter in the speed department. It's not something that you're going to push over very easy.
I like the comment RCI Cameron said in chat just now. He corrected me and says, I don't think he missed the apex even still. And I actually believe you're correct. I think even when spun, he planted it on the apex of the hairpin. So my apologies to Burka. He did not miss that apex even when spun. So all power to him. Mr. Akar here in 8th place now has a blue Ferrari in front of him. One more place, more points, better positioning for this championship. It could very well be his for the taking now. What damage was done to the 5? What damage was done to the tires? You may ask. Well, I don't think we will know specifically, but the 32 BMW might be able to tell us a better story when he gets there.
Yeah, especially with 3 minutes left to go. With 3 minutes, you know that you could get that place. You're obviously going to want it.
I know it wouldn't be an RCI race if I did not do the maths, so I'm going to do the maths really quick. I don't think at their present pace the 199 can catch Harry Spears out front. In fact, I'm going to guarantee that that will not happen. There, I have done the maths on the lead, and all Harry Spears has to do is keep it on the tarmac for another 3+ minutes. Easier said than done here for Seb Brunier, who is fallen back down to 10th place. And he has a McKean behind him in the 333 who would very much like that position. Lima, of course, getting by Seb Brunier some time ago. The battle for 10th place, though, Ryan, always more intense than the battle for like 11th or 12th. 10th it's just a better number, isn't it?
But you always want to be in the top 10, don't you? The top 10 of the top split. If it's right there for what you think is the taking, then go for it. But it's obviously both McLarens, the small McLaren Cup. Now it's entirely down to the drivers and the setup and who will come off the victor. But the 333, maybe not having the best race of today, but if he can pass Sebastian, then he'll at least regain a top 10, which could be. It's a crumb of comfort, isn't it?
A crumb of comfort. I like that. Well, there will be some post-race stewarding necessary after this one. I think, indeed, there have been some dodgy moves. Not a ton, not a whole lot, but a couple that we will likely see some sort of license penalty points given out for. Most notably for me, for the spinning of the 5 that you see pictured here. Not
Yes.
sure about some of the other incidents. I'm a commentator, not a steward, so I will not speculate in particular, but Emilio Garcia looking to get around the Lexus in front of him, but of course they're all now in the final closing minutes of the race, and that is a lap car in front of Stoffel there. That could change this battle up quite a bit as Harry Spears takes the white flag, 1 lap to go.
Yes, we'd mentioned it before, haven't we, that sometimes back markers, that can be whoever reads the traffic better, that can be the deciding factor of the race. We've seen it before. We could see it again, as Harry Spears is just in an absolute, just his own little bubble. He's ran his own race. He hasn't really had to so much as defend from the 199. They've been there, but it's never.
That's dangerous.
Oh, but the Aston Martin appears to have had a better run through that, even with the back
Somehow.
marker. Yes, somehow. But once again, you can't you can't get on the power as early as you might like if someone's directly in front of you. And once again, you end up as a drag race. But with the draft, maybe it's going to pull off. As Senstoffmeal goes entirely defensive, he's telling him, "Oh, maybe it's not." Now he knew that there's not an overlap there.
Oh,
Oh,
a
it's
little
a
bit of a
small
wiggle there.
small wobble. That might be the sign of maybe a bit of worn tires. Can you hold it off for another one lap? It's very hard to pass sometimes if you know how to defend and you know your car's strengths and weaknesses. As I says, I know if I was in the Lexus that you can really gain through the hairpin with that Aston.
Did that wing, Ryan? Did that wing on that Lexus look a bit damaged to you when we were riding on board there?
It did look slightly a few scratches on it. Yes, there might have been a bit of a
Oh, he's
rearwards
digging though.
contact, bit of a rearwards contact. But as I says, the number 46 either is not he's not entirely scot free either. He's got a bit of damage, but what would you rather have, front or rear aero damage? I think each is just as bad.
It's like picking the poison that's going to kill you, isn't it? A little bit as the battles
Yep.
continue here on the final lap of the race. Harry Spears has already crossed the finish line. He has won this race in grandstand fashion. If you are the 199, you will be asking yourself, what if so close prior to the pit stop, the strategy did not play out in their favor today? They made up some 7, 8 seconds on the lead, but in the end, was not enough. Emilio Garcia doesn't look like he's going to get this done as he does one final big swooping run. Doesn't look like he's going to get there. The
Well,
199 comes home. Renault will finish in third place, the 732, the first of the silver cars, parking it on the podium. Stoffel will survive in the Lexus and finish fourth. Garcia fifth. Guaro. Oh no, it's going to be a big crash here for about 10th place. Josh McKean goes off in the final corner after the triangle. A big mistake, perhaps contact coming to blows. Another car off there at 130R. What happens between Sebastian Brunier? Oh, McKean gets a little loose on the inside of the corner. And what happens is it all yes as they come off of the curb. Sebastian Brunier gets into the other McLaren. What do you make of that, Ryan Mawson?
I'd so you'd be just kicking yourself, wouldn't you? Sometimes it's one of those. Once again, like you said earlier, a what if. But as we know, post-race stewarding, as we appear to be having a drag race down to the finish line,
Oh,
who was
lovely.
gonna become of that? That was the Bentley held on. Bentley held on by a whole tenth of a second, or just over a tenth of a second.
Lovely stuff. And of course, the pink car there, that's Hillman. He is a RCI broadcaster here for us as well in the top split. But, whew, okay, time to take a breath and make sense out of the chaos that just unfolded. Here are your final overall results for the first round of Night Owl Season 3. Harry Spears cruises to victory in his Mercedes. Anna makes a pit stop gamble, doesn't come up their way, still gets second place. No shame in that. And Renault, who pitted way early in the race, makes the tires on his Lamborghini last to fill out the final podium positions. Stoffmel and Garcia round out the top five. Giaro, Akar, Lima, Yilmaz, and Brunier are your top 10. And behind them, McKean, Zizik, Kumpo, Moriarty, Gill, Konzabo, Anderson, Hillman, Knappen, and I can't quite read that. That's Flamger is your top 20. And we had a couple of retirements. Somebody was asking earlier. They had massive damage, but outside the top 20, you got Magazi, Sizik, Ziege, Nitterjack. I didn't even know he was in the race today. Litherland, who I thought was up higher in the running as well. Sones, Laval, and Tunser are your finishers. A lot of those at the end, starting from Litherland down, did not finish this race. First time in the box, Ryan Mawson, and it was a grandstand race. I think you're going to have to come back.
Yeah, as you said when we brought it on, never a dull moment in the night owl, right up until the last moments, the last corner for some of these people, right down to a drag race between a Bentley, a Aston Martin, and a Porsche. So yeah, it was never a dull moment here, apart from maybe the Mercedes, who yeah, they were once they'd split out. Sometimes it's nice to have someone to drive with, and it depends what kind of driver you are. If you just want to lap on your own.
Indeed. Well, if you like Night Owl, well, I got good news. This was the first race of many, and folks, they don't know the next track that they're going to until the practice goes live. So they have already selected their cars. They cannot reselect their cars. We will have to see whenever we go green and go live next Saturday evening what the track is and just who is going to come out on top. For those of you joining us tonight, please remember like and subscribe for more GT racing content. And hey, if you like me, I don't know why you would, but if you do like me, you can come back and hang out with me tomorrow afternoon for 3 hours of racing at one of the best tracks in the world, in my opinion, Donington Park. Love that. 3 hours. Got a lot of the RCI staff in that race as well. So if you want to hear me make fun of them, come back for that. And of course, the Monday championship, Wednesday championship starting up this week, and of course, the Friday championship as well. Join us on Discord, get involved, like, and subscribe. And one more time, thanks to all of the partners that help make this race and many like it possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. And until next time, I'm Jesse Lee. I'm here with Ryan Mawson and Nick Setnick. Thank you for joining us and have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Ta